Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Flex Friday. Today, it's Kyle Pitts witching hour. Still getting over that game from last night. So congrats if you had the balls or made the playoffs with Kyle Pitts. You are the real MVP. But I'm here with Andy again for Flex Friday, where we bring you low-owned flex options, low-owned streamers. We're here for your desperate needs, and Andy and I are here to help you win your playoff game. Or if you're sitting on a bye, to just enjoy the show. Andy, thanks for popping in with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Ready to get into the trenches.
I did see a tweet, and I really agreed with it. It was like, having a bye is so important because that's how you dodge 50-point Kyle Pitts games. And it's like that is true, though. It's like you want the bye because, like, even if you think your team's better, like, you never really know what's going to happen, and you just want less games where that can happen.
You could go up against a Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts stack that just put up 70 or 80 points on you, and then it's like, well, season's over. Thursday night, right away.
No better said than our boy Mark right here. I played against Pitts in the first round this week. Let's put it this way. As he was going off, I knew I didn't have him, but the first thing I did was check my, 5 playoff matchups to be like, please tell me I'm not playing against Kyle Pitts. Because it would have ruined my night. I was not playing against Kyle Pitts anywhere, so luckily I did dodge that. Mark, hopefully we can help you set your lineup to win, even though Kyle Pitts potentially just stole your child and ran away with him, though, to be honest. Because
I feel the good news about the Kyle Pitts going off is, it is in some playoff matchups, but I think he's just going ham in a lot of losers brackets for people.
I would say so. And at least you now, I guess it doesn't really matter, but at least you now can kind of pivot and be like, okay, I got to start my high upside guys because
full fences.
Let's see what Mark said. Luckily I had a 25-ish point projected lead. So you got a chance, and maybe instead of playing some low floor guy, you go with the ceiling.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for coming in. Basically, if you haven't come before, we give you flex players to play, and we will answer every single comment. We got one from James again. We got early James. I remember James last week threw a comment about 30 minutes before. So I love this. Put those comments in. Honestly, I didn't even know you could do that. I think once I put the show up as scheduled, you probably can start commenting. So James is getting his questions in early, and I appreciate it. So we're here to help you, James. Hopefully you're watching. If not, just scrub it back a little bit. You'll catch it. So, hey, guys, early again here. Evan's on my bench last night, unfortunately. But who do I start this week? Start between Shakir, Neal, Watson, Vele. And then he did say 2. So do you think he means start 2 of them?
That would be my guess.
Okay, start 2.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 instead of TO. Yeah, okay. I think that's what it is. Start 2 between Shakir, Neal, Watson, and Vele. Andy, do you have any initial reactions here to this? Do we need some matchups as well?
I think just off the top, I would probably go Neal and Watson. I know the Packers are playing Denver, which is not a great matchup, but he has been the number one guy, been pretty good since he's been back. And then Neal's also looked pretty decent for the Saints. They're playing the Panthers. I think okay against the run, but I think he did pretty well last time they played. He didn't get a lot of carries, but I think his average was pretty good, and he's been better. Shakir is, up and down. Vele, Panthers actually have a pretty good pass team as well, so that's
I'm with. I definitely, you can't sit Watson. I just think the matchup. I guess,
you could, but I wouldn't sit him for Shakir.
I couldn't do it.
I wouldn't sit
him. Yeah, I just can't sit for those guys.
But I wouldn't for them.
Yeah, and then I think I go Neal as well. With no, Camaro already ruled out again. He's getting so many touches that I'm going to take those over these guys that aren't really guaranteed much. I don't like Vele. Maybe you're not playing him over Neal though. And then Shakir is I don't hate playing Shakir, but not as an every week kind of starter guy. So Mark has another question here. Only decision I need to make is Tyrone Tracy or BTJ in PPR. Currently leaning Tracy. but BTJ might be the upside play. So Jaguars going up against the Jets. So that is a pretty good matchup. And then obviously Tyler and Tracy going up against Washington.
Yeah. I mean, I think since you're down, I think Brian Thomas probably has a little bit more upside. Definitely, I think a lower floor.
I really just don't have any Brian Thomas. He wasn't a guy I drafted, really. I'm trying to look how he's been doing since Jacoby Myers came. I mean, okay, six targets last week. Tracy is going up against Washington, though.
Yeah. But it is PPR.
Yeah.
Not that Tracy can't also catch some passes and get some points. Like, that is part of his game for sure. But
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
I
think if you were in the lead, I would go Tracy. But now that you're behind because you had to go up against Pitts, I would just hope that this is a big explosive game from Brian Thomas Jr. I know we really haven't seen it this season, but he is a talented player and is capable of it.
What's tough about Tracy is that his 2 spike games here both came while losing. That's where these receiving yards are coming from. And so when he has a lot of bad games too. I think I'd go Thomas and just hope. Yeah, I think you just go Thomas and hope he breaks one. But it kind of depends on your risk factor too. I think Andy and I would both agree Tracy's more likely to get you 10. I would say Thomas is more likely to get you 20. It depends on how you want to play that. And unfortunately, sometimes you just make it on your own. We're trying to help you, Mark, but that is a tough one, man. I see why you're struggling. I don't out the gate. I don't just lean one of those immediately.
Yeah.
But I think they'll probably do it. But let's get our show kicked off today. Number 1 player Andy's going to be talking about, Emmanuel Wilson, going up. 44% rostered. So definitely a must-own player. Andy, are you starting him? Is this Jacobs out start, which probably might be obvious, or is this even with a banged-up Jacobs?
Hopefully we get the clarity. I think if Jacobs is out, Denver does have a really good defense, but I think he's kind of a low-end RB2 because we've seen it when Jacobs was out for the one game. He got the majority of the work and was awesome with it. But I think even if Jacobs plays, I know I said this last week and then Jacobs wound up just being mainly the guy, but that was also division game against the Bears to go to first in the NFC North. Whereas this game against the Broncos, even if they lose, Packers play the Bears again next week, and whoever wins that game will be first in the NFC North again. So I know every game is important, but as far as postseason rankings go and the Packers winning the division, this game is far less important than what's going on next week. So I think there's a chance that even if Jacobs suits up, instead of having him be the bell cow, it's more of a 50-50 timeshare. I think there's guys I would probably rather play Tyron Tracy over Emmanuel Wilson for sure if Jacobs is playing. But I guess it's more of just a thinking about potential Packer strategy that I don't think Jacobs will be getting a massive workload with his knee with the postseason coming up, with them having to play the Bears and the Vikings again this season. So if it's 50-50, I think Emmanuel Wilson is a very capable back. It's a tough defense. But, if you're looking for people who are on the waiver wire, it's going to be, you're going to have to climb through the dirt and find the gems and the grossness. And I think he has some potential.
Yeah, it's ugly on most waiver wires out there. I really wasn't finding much. I'm definitely I think you add Emmanuel Wilson for sure. I would say the hope would be is you have better options, but it's totally possible you don't. And that's the thing that I think we don't know is would I play, going back to James's question from earlier, I would probably play Wilson over Vele, but I'm not playing him over Watson, Neal, or Shakir. So sure. I think it just depends on where you're sitting at in your lineup. Like you said, he's going to start getting added because of Jacobs. And I think you could do worse than throwing him your lineup if you're adding a player because you need someone. hopefully you have some other options, but there isn't really much out there. Like most teams have started loading up for the playoffs, and the waiver wires are like, there weren't any really breakouts like last week with new injuries that are bringing new starters like we kind of get earlier in the year. So he's been good when he plays. It's really just like following the Josh Jacobs like news cycle and seeing what they say. I'm with you that if they were smart, it makes so much sense to not really play Jacobs that much this week. Yeah. I guess we will see what they say. I mean, I wouldn't play him. Like you said, it doesn't really matter. This game, like, yeah, it does in a way, I guess, if they're chasing like a bye still. They're not going to try and lose the game.
No,
but Wilson's been good that he should be playing more, but it's hard to kind of fully know.
Yeah.
So my first guy of the week here is going to be Chimere Dike. He's just a very up and down player. I think he's just like an explosive guy, and it basically is like when he gets the targets, he has big games, and when he doesn't get the targets, he doesn't have big games, which would seem about how you would describe every player. But like, I mean, I think for him, like, I'm hoping he can develop into something. San Fran, like, should be a decent matchup for pass catchers, at least fantasy points against wise. Like, there might be some more like minute details into exactly how they're going to play defense against the Titans. I do think the one thing here that really would like be my tiebreaker for DK is just game script. I don't expect them to really probably be in this game, and San Fran can get out to pretty fast leads on teams that I wouldn't surprise that's really what happens here. And then if he can get some just like trash time targets, I would love it. So like if you're looking for a guy 27% rostered, I think you could do worse than this. Obviously it's the playoffs. Hope you have better options, but you were hoping like T. Higgins played and you have to go add someone off the waiver wire. DK is probably one of the higher wide receivers I'd be looking for if there's nothing left.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, you know, matchup wise, and it's kind of tough to say with the Titans. Like, he's listed as the wide receiver 2, at least on the depth chart for sleeper. But he's been out targeting Ayo Menor. So tough to say. But if he is a wide receiver 2, Niners 30th DVOA versus wide receiver 2s. So it seems like he's the guy. And, you know, I don't know. I think it's a decent matchup and a little Hail Mary. I mean, he's got wiggle. Like, he's taken a couple kicks back. Like, he is one of those guys who is capable of taking a screen pass or a slant all the way to the house. So
he has crazy all-purpose yard totals, man. Like, even just like looking on sleeper on his right side over here on his kick return yardage, like the dude, there's multiple games like in the hundreds. Like, he's a very explosive player. I would love to see like if he can maybe develop into something for the Titans. But it's playoff time, man, and like it's I think if you're playing these teams, like you're probably not playing a bad team. So I'm probably going to aim a little more upside this week than usual. And I think Slayton, your second guy of the week, is kind of a similar story.
Yeah. Coming back off the bye, Giants get to play the Commanders, which is great. They've given up a ton of points to wide receivers. Of course, Slayton really hasn't done a whole lot. You know, you can see there 14.1 points in his last game. But, you know, if you're in the playoffs, you need to plug and play somebody. Like, good luck, Godspeed. All these choices are definitely a little bit sketch, but that's what we do is we got to get into the trenches. Commanders, 32nd DVOA to wide receiver 2s, allowing about 58 yards per game to the position, which is third most in the NFL. Defense as a whole allows the 5th most points to wide receivers. So this is a big matchup play. And that's, you know, basically what you got to hope for is that New York's able to throw the ball and, you know, Slayton gets involved.
It's the matchup. Like if you're targeting matchups, this matchup, Washington, Dallas, the Giants as well, actually are all 3 matchups that you would be looking at. And like Slayton's been pretty good in general. I mean, like he's more of a deep threat, but like he's a pretty good player and he comes and goes, but he has the chance to have these kind of games, which I think is the same thing I was like insinuating with DK, where it's like, I think this week I'm in the playoffs and I'm probably going to be running away from those guys that are just like going to give me like 3 catches for 30 yards or like I'm looking for someone that can make a big play and score a touchdown or something. Because I just don't think you're going to win your playoff matchup like playing the Amari DeMarcados of the. I don't know. Like I just don't really think you're going to win this week doing that, and so I think you got to take some risks. And I'll just stay in the same game. Another player I think if you're even more desperate than Darius Slayton would be Isaiah Hodgins. Like he's been getting some run. You know, he had a couple good games. Now I think some of this came when Slayton was missing some time, but also like we'll just see what this game goes like. I think it has a chance to be kind of one of those like late season, just like absolute shootouts between two pretty bad teams in general, with Marcus Mariota and Jackson Dart kind of just going off. But Hodgins has been on the field. He's made some plays. And the idea would be is he's only getting like more used to the system. I mean, he basically signed off like the fucking street like a month ago, and he's been like pretty involved since then. So like he has some sort of rapport, but I think for me, I guess some of that did come with like Jameis and not Dart. So it's hard to fully like know exactly what's going to happen, but the dude it's a deep play. He's 3% rostered. Like, don't tell me you can't go add this guy if you are looking at like a really, really desperation kind of setup this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, this is super deep desperation. Like, you know, if you're in a 14 team league and, you know, all the other guys we're talking about, I think are off of waivers, it's real deep. I think he's got a shot because of the defense that he's playing against. And really at this point, it's like Wandale is the wide receiver 1 until Neighbors is back. And then I wouldn't really say Slayton is the 2, like he and Hodgins, you know, it's just kind of a cluster of a bunch of guys who get in. So
there's different roles. Like it's like I would say like, and this isn't like the perfect advice for anyone, but like I would say one of us is going to be right on this. I would say Hodgins or Slayton probably ends up being a top 36 wide receiver. It's just hard to say which one it will be. I would lean Slayton if I had the choice between the two. But if you're in a dynasty league or like a 16-team league and you need someone like pathetic and desperate, Hodgins is a guy that at least like kind of jumps out to me instead of like, I don't even know like who else you're looking at, but like, you know, sometimes it can be hard. So James is tuning in now. He's all caught up from his first question. He does have a second question for us as well. Ooh, a little battle of the rookie running backs. Judkins or Hampton this week, Andy? So Chargers in a pretty important game against the Chiefs. I guess this is more just like, honestly, two backs that are kind of in like split backfields as well. Judkins in a way more split backfield than you would think. I would say people that don't really follow him on a week-to-week basis. Hampton going up against the Chiefs and Judkins going up against the Bears.
Yeah. I mean, initially, I think I lean Judkins. I mean, Hampton should be getting more work as he's coming back from his injury, but, you know, 31% snap share last week, had a good game. Also, the Bears defense, not like they're not horrible against the run, but they're not great against the run. Like they're 5th worst DVOA, even though their stats are kind of middle of the pack. So I think they will be able to run against them. You know, that should be, if Cleveland wants to try and win this game, I think that would be the way that they do it, just with a rookie quarterback and how good the Bears have been at getting takeaways. Obviously, we'll see if they do that or not, but I think I would lean Judkins, but that is a tough one.
Yeah, this is tough. Like, I don't know if you have any context, James. Is it PPR at all? Mostly just because, like, I like Judkins. I'm just, like, a little concerned. I own him, and, like, I don't think he's an auto start this week. I do think, like, he probably will touch the ball more if it's, like, a standard league. And we'll see, too. Like, I've been seeing some stuff that game is supposed to be, like, 10 degrees or something. So it might just be, like, a runoff between full PPR.
Yeah.
I honestly think I might. I want to say Hampton. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yes. That's who I'm playing. I am in this exact same position, James, and I'm going Marks. So if you're going down, I'm going down with you because I have this exact. Well, I don't have Hampton, but I'm playing Marks over Judkins. I just think the matchup is too sweet going up against Arizona. So I know it might be getting cute come playoff time, but the Browns are just not good, and I just don't want to play that game. I think Woody Marks is a much more smash start. Would you say that, Andy, or where are you still at Judkins Hampton over Woody Marks?
I think it's closer. I mean, I definitely see the case for Woody Marks, I think matchup wise. And obviously, Judkins splitting so much time with Sampson isn't as ideal, whereas, Marks is getting a lot more of the carries. He was up to 87% last week. Against Kansas City is a good defense. So yeah. In order,
Nick Chubb banged up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think to me, like if Nick Chubb too doesn't play, like what's the latest on Nick Chubb here? I know they were saying he hadn't, like I think yesterday he hadn't practiced yet. He might have by now, but we'll see that pop up while I bring the thing out again on Friday. So yeah, like Marks. You could be looking at like an 80% snap share Woody Marks. And we'll just take that into Aaron's question. Aaron, thanks for tuning in. Marks, Diggs, Tet, full PPR. I'm still going Marks. If I'm picking one, I think if I had to rank them, I would go Marks, Tet, Diggs. But I do think those are three like decent options. I think Diggs and Tet, there's no guarantees, but they both have the ceiling. I mean, Diggs in his first matchup against Buffalo like went nuclear. It's hard for me to be like, does he just do it again, or do they just guard him this time? Like, I don't like.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what he have. Yeah, 10 catches for.
Dude, he went off. Yeah, like he like went absolutely off, and it's like, well, like was that a matchup thing? Was it just like Diggs is like a cocky dude, so they like he played his best game against Buffalo because like of course he did.
I think that's a little bit of it for sure. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not always into the revenge game angle, but Diggs seems like the kind of guy who would really.
Oh, for sure. That's why I love him.
So yeah.
Yeah. Let's not forget the best video of all time, that the Vikings one of Diggs of who do you not want to date your sister, and the entire locker room is like Diggs, dude. Do not let Diggs date my sister. Yeah. And now he knocks up Cardi B. So maybe they were right, dude, or maybe they were wrong all time. But James, I appreciate it, man. I just want you to know my money is I am playing Woody Marks over Judkins this week in a league. That is a must-win situation. I just think the matchup is just too nice. Arizona's been so bad. And I like that just Houston is like in these games. I think talent-wise, Judkins is so much better than Woody Marks. And if they were in different situations, I think you could argue that Judkins like could be a top 3 running back if he was on the Texans with that defense.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think we said this earlier, but like these aren't bad choices. Like it's the downside of having good depth is that you sometimes have to make really hard decisions. Like it kind of sucks, but in the end. So Aaron, hopefully that helped you, man. I would go Woody Marks here and then probably Tet. And it sounded like Andy was in lockstep with that.
I mean, I can also see the case for Diggs too. I think Marks for sure. Yeah, Tet playing the Saints did okay against him in the last matchup. It is in New Orleans.
Tet's tough. He's very big play dependent and like touchdown dependent, but like he also like is their number one option, but they just run a lot too. So I definitely am playing Marks. Then I think the other one is kind of just like, what do you want here? Are you going for more like, I think Diggs will get more catches. I think Tet has a better chance to get you like a 2 TD game. And I think you would be bummed on missing that. So
I think it's fair. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to move into our next player for Andy. Playoff time. Is it playoff Rashid Shaheed? Andy, is this the week? He had the return touchdown last week. Still not a receiving touchdown for the Seahawks, though.
Yeah, I feel like just part of it, you got to close it with our golden boy, but he did have his best receiving game on the Seahawks, getting 5 targets, 4 catches, 67 yards. Hopefully this is a sign that, his role will be growing and they want to use him more because he's just so electric when he's on the field. And this is a really good matchup for him. Indy allowed the most yards to wide receiver 2s, 79 yards per game. Also, the second most yards to wide receiver 3s at 59 yards per game, depending on where he is with Cooper Kupp. And, part of that with Indy could be related to their midseason dominance, teams having to throw against them a lot, but they're also have been really good against wide receiver ones, only allowing 48 yards per game to wide receiver ones. So, I would definitely be surprised if, JSN wasn't leading this team in receiving at the end of the game. Like, he's obviously an absolute freak, and so he's going to get his. But I think there's going to be a lot of options for both Shaheed and Kupp in this game. I just think Shaheed, he's always a one-touch potential touchdown scorer. And if you're going for upside, I would definitely play him over Kupp for that. But I think both of them could have decent games against this defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the matchup, and like we said, I don't want to keep hitting a dead horse, that's the saying, right? I'm not butchering that. Kicking a dead horse. It's not hitting. Beating a dead horse. But it's the playoffs. I am shooting for upside with most of my flex choices. If I'm having to get desperate, which is kind of what our show is based around, right? Like, these are lower percentage started and rostered players, and I keep struggling to think of ones, but I'm not going down with Isaiah Pacheco. I'm going down with Rashid Shaheed. I think that's kind of more like what I'm getting after. Whereas I'm not playing. I just don't want to go down with these safe players. I'm going to at least go with someone that can put up a game, because you're playing against a good team in the playoffs, 100%. So another question from James, and then Erdo SC. We'll get to you next after that. So James, another one more, I swear. Now you keep them coming, dude. We love the questions. As much as we like doing our own little picks and stuff, I prefer questions to our own picks. It just kind of creates more of a background for us to talk about stuff in between questions.
Yeah.
Purdy or Goff? So Purdy going up against the Titans this week. I mean, can't really ask for a much better matchup than that. And Detroit is playing
the Rams.
Forget who's
little Jared Goff revenge game.
Jared Goff revenge game. So Andy, do you have anything you're leaning here?
I mean, I know it's not a great matchup because the Rams have a pretty good defense, but I would probably go Goff. I mean, I definitely see the case for Purdy. I just think this is, a must-win game for the Lions to keep it in the playoffs. We'll see if there's anything to the Jared Goff revenge angle. But, they've looked pretty good. A lot of it has been on the ground. Goff hasn't been thrown for a lot of touchdowns, but I want to see where the Rams are versus the run. Not that anybody can really stop Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, so while Andy's looking at that, I would second that. I think I'm going Jared Goff. I think Purdy is a pretty safe start. I did pick him up. I picked him up in a league, which is actually it's a 4 playoff team league. So our playoffs don't even start till next week. But I am deciding to play Brock Purdy over Justin Herbert, just because Herbert's, I think, going up against a tougher defense. But I think for me in the playoffs, it's hard to ignore that, I think this Rams-Lions game could potentially be a high-scoring game. And it's indoors. And, it's just one of those ones where, I think you play Jared Goff. And I think playing Purdy is, getting a little too cute because, I think if Purdy has a big game, it's because they get up early. But if some of those early touchdowns are, a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown or, CMC runs one in or something, I could see him missing out on some of those points late in the game as they just kind of run it down kind of the rest of the game. And before we get to our next comment, just to kind of tail that, my last flex dude of the week is Brian Robinson. I think to me it's not some highly touted one. I think it's a desperate one, but I think it's similar to your mindset with the Emmanuel Wilson potential play where if they get up on the Titans, logic could be maybe Robinson should be a little more involved. And I really don't imagine this being much of a competitive game. Robinson kind of has these games every couple, week 9, week 10, he was able to score in a couple of those. And I think he could have one down the stretch here because I guess with Indy, we don't really know how they're going to look without Daniel Jones. But 17 and 18, these are not games the Niners are going to be taking off. So maybe week 15 is the time to give CMC a little extended rest coming off the bye. It's not a mega hunch, but it's if you're sitting there and there's no one on your waiver wire, I do think Robinson has like a higher chance to score this week than you probably would say he could score like in most of their games, just due to the game script.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And also, I mean, McCaffrey, I think he missed practice Wednesday with illness. I think he was back on Thursday in a limited fashion. But, just you can just do us a favor, anybody who needs to play Brian Robinson, Niners, and just sit McCaffrey for a week, let him heal up, and let Brian Robinson take over.
So here's the question we were getting to. Start one, Dowdle, Michael Wilson, Sutton, or Neal. I think you got to go Michael Wilson, man. I don't know how you can't play him. I don't know if this is a long-term thing. Like, I don't know if we're going to be playing Michael Wilson every week 3 years from now. But no Marvin Harrison. I think you got to play Michael Wilson. He's dominating.
Sometimes, there's a start your studs, but there's also ride the hot hand, and he is the hot hand. I know a couple years ago, Rashad Penny was going on his tear at the end of the season. I'm in the championship. I decided not to play Rashad Penny because I had Kamara, I had a bunch of good running backs, and guess what? If I would have played him, I would have won, and I lost. So Michael Wilson's been on a tear. Just keep it rolling until the wheels fall off.
I forgot about the Rashad Penny tear, dude. I did play him, and it felt great. That was quite the way to win. I mean, you just look. It's purely that the Cardinals have been just getting like absolutely pooped on, but like you just can't fake these target numbers. I don't care if Stingley's guarding him. He's gonna, if he gets these targets, you have to play that player. And I don't think like the other guys in this list are not like high enough that I'm benching them for Michael Wilson. Like, yes, I'm not playing Michael Wilson over Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not getting like crazy. But like I think in this tier, I think you kind of do have to play them. This is for his next one. I know the feeling. Yeah. I mean, I don't love the matchup, but the thing is like they're just force feeding him the ball, and like I guess we'll see. Like maybe Stingley does follow him, and like maybe it does hurt him a little bit. But the game script in these games for the Cardinals is like they're just throwing the ball like 70 times. So, okay, thank you. I'll keep them coming. Sutton or Watson?
I would lean.
I mean, that's in a game against each other. Yeah.
Two good pass defenses. I think the Denver defense is a little bit better, but I also think Watson is a little bit better and Love is a little bit better at getting him the ball. So I would lean Watson.
I'm going Watson. I think you could argue they have the same floor, and I think Watson has a higher ceiling. Like we've just seen it. We haven't really seen what Watson did last week from Sutton at all this year. I don't think so. Like, what's Sutton's best game of the year? Like, did he have Watson had like 89 and 2 touchdowns or something? And he's done it like twice. He had another 2 touchdown game like a month ago or something.
Yeah, he's been a touchdown machine since he got back. I think he's establishing himself as the number one on that offense. So
full PPR. Yeah, just to wrap that one up for sure. Like they're just such easy points that it's hard to not take them. So Joe here, full PPR, need a flex, Harvey or Wandale?
I mean, I'm loving this matchup for Wandale, so that's where I would lead. I don't think Harvey's like a bad play, but I think I would go Wandale personally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think in PPR, like obviously Harvey bumps up like the RB rankings, but like Wandale's probably. It'd be hard to not call him like a top 24 wide receiver in a PPR league. And like, this is like the best matchup for wide receivers. Like the Commanders are absolutely horrible. Like JJ McCarthy just like dominated them, like absolutely dominated them. And I don't think any of us think JJ McCarthy is like some amazing passer. I think the only thing unfortunate about the J.J. McCarthy performance last week is that 2 of its touchdowns went to their backup tight end, which completely ruined like McCarthy had a good game, but like really it didn't go to anyone. So it was just like very unfortunate. Yeah. Although I don't really think anyone's really playing the pass catchers. I haven't had the ball. Dude, I've been playing Jefferson in all my leagues. I can't bench it.
Have to,
I just can't do it.
So gross.
I can't do it. So it looks like we're through all of our flex players. So no time like the present to talk about Andy's QB
Talk more about
streamer.
JJ McCarthy, man. We'll run it back.
Streamer of the week.
Yeah, streamer last week. Had a good game. Let's run it back against the Cowboys. Washington you can throw against. What team can you throw against even more? The Dallas Cowboys, allowing the most points to quarterbacks, not only in the most yards per game passing, but also the 5th most rush yards to quarterbacks and tied for most rushing touchdowns allowed to quarterbacks. And JJ, he hasn't done it with his feet in a while, obviously dealing with some injuries, but he's scored on the ground twice in his first 3 starts. So, some potential there if he's feeling a little bit better to get running near the goal line again. It's just his schedule this week is amazing. The rest of his season schedule is pretty amazing. So, hopefully you're set on a better quarterback, but if you are needing to stream, I think this is a guy you can grossly put in for the rest of the year, but hopefully you figure out something better as it goes on. But I think this game is the game that you play him for sure if you need him.
Yeah. I mean, he had the 3-game matchup. It's what we talked about last week when Andy had him as his streamer this could potentially be a 3 to 4 week streamer if necessary. I don't really know what situation you would have been in, who you had before that you were depending on that. I mean, I don't really know, but Dallas is the matchup, dude. And he's going to throw the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball probably to beat Dallas. And they have the pass catchers. And I mean, this sums it up. I can't sit him either. I can't do it. What's unfortunate is probably the only way to guarantee Jefferson has a good game is if I do sit him, then he will finally have a good game. But he just has the matchups. And at some point, it's not that he's not open. That's not what's happening in these games. He's
it's not his
open.
fault. It's not his fault.
It's just hard, but I'm with you. I think McCarthy is one of those streamers. My streamer I'm going with this week, have to find him up in our list here, is our boy, Aaron Rodgers. Got that TD on the ground last week. You'll love to see that.
The discount double check.
But, it's the same thing. If you're streaming quarterbacks in the playoffs, you're getting desperate. And so we're going JJ McCarthy, and I'm going Monday night Aaron Rodgers going up against Miami. It is a good matchup. Miami's D is kind of tough to explain. We've talked about Miami's D so much where it's just their numbers are not their full season numbers are not their recent numbers. But in general, I do think this is a must-win game for the Steelers. Rodgers has been playing well, and I think I'm just going to stick with it in a primetime game that he has another, at least wouldn't expect another rushing touchdown, but I think he's going to get you, low-end QB1 to QB 15 numbers kind of this week. And I think I would take that if I'm playing Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also looked up the weather for this game. It is projected to be 15 degrees in Pittsburgh. At least I looked for Sunday on accident, though, but I'm sure it's probably going to be cold Monday night as well. Rodgers can obviously ball out in the cold. We'll see how the Dolphins handle such low temperatures. I know they've looked pretty bad before. I remember they had a different team, but, you love playing against a warm weather team if you are a cold weather team.
Poor little Tua, dude. He gets so chilly. He just gets so chilly in the cold. You just see it on his face. But, hopefully you guys don't have to play these streamers just to double back and just kind of explain what we're talking about. Our previous question from, I think it was from James, right? Purdy or Goff. Both of those guys over both of the guys we just brought up. These are lower rostered guys, but sometimes you just get in these positions. You don't really know how it happens. Or I think with super flex leagues becoming more popular, you can get in these positions a little more frequently. So now we're going to go into our tight ends for the week. And similar to JJ McCarthy, honestly, when you put this dude on your list, I was how is this dude still not rostered enough? He has the best matchup, and he's gone off back-to-back weeks. But Isaiah Likely, 22% rostered, which I think is still crazy. But I think it's a great start this week.
Yeah. Cincinnati is on a pace to let up the most fantasy points to tight ends of all time, and that's not stopping. Just 2 weeks ago, we played him, had a good game, almost had a monster game, except for he fumbled into the end zone, resulting in a touchback. You like to see him getting more involved, and this is the perfect matchup if you're going to pick up a guy to stream. So I wouldn't hesitate at all play him. I mean, I would even consider potentially playing Likely over some other more established guys. Obviously, nobody who's top of the tight end rankings, but just because of how bad the Bengals have been against tight ends, I think they're allowing.
I'm torn on him versus Andrews. I have that choice in a league, and I feel like I'm just going to play Andrews and I'm not going to take him out. But Likely's been playing really well these past 2 games. And like you said, not only could his week 13 matchup have been a lot better. Think about last week. He had that touchdown that I think was a touchdown called back. Yeah. So he could have had 2 18-point games as a tight end. And I think if that happened, we'd be talking about him way different. I think this rostership number would be 70% if that happened.
For sure.
Compared to being
eligible
22% now. So Likely would be my number 1 choice out of the 2 we're going to talk to today. So if Likely's available, I definitely think he's an ad here. My sneaky one, even though he's more owned, which is crazy to me, is going to be AJ Barner. He's had some stretches where he's been a lot more productive. A lot of his touchdowns came early in the season. Similar to us thinking it might just be time for Shaheed to score. I'm thinking it might loop back around for AJ Barner, and this could be a week he gets in the end zone. It's not like some crazy thing. I think so many of the tight ends are just way too owned to even suggest them on our show right now.
Yeah. And, we talked about Indy being bad against wide receiver 2s and 3s, but they're also 25th DVOA to the tight end. They allow the 3rd most yards to the position, 8th most points. So this is also a good matchup for tight ends. And Arroyo has not yet practiced this week again, so it could be more of the AJ Barner show even than other weeks. I think even if Arroyo plays, I don't mind playing Barner. And if he's out, I think it's a pretty solid play. So I'm with you.
So keeping our streamers going, we're going to do defenses and kickers. So hopefully he joins later in the show, our number 1 fan, Alex. But this was the Alex special from last week, Andy.
Yeah. So, shout out to Alex for just bringing up this matchup. This was, a team you didn't really think about. But, I'm happy to roll with them this week versus the Panthers, who I think are also a decent play as a defense. But last time they played in Carolina, they only allowed 7 points, got a couple of sacks, no turnovers that game, but still 7 points, 2 sacks, pretty good outing. Carolina's fighting for a playoff spot. Saints are playing for nothing, which sometimes is, the ultimate. All they're playing for is to, beat their division rival. And sometimes that's where you get some weird games, some weird stuff happening. So I like the Saints in New Orleans to help ruin the Panthers' chances of making the playoffs. I think it's going to be a pretty gritty, hard-fought game. So,
yeah, I mean, we had this similar conversation last week as well, but not only are you picking them up now to have a pretty good matchup against Carolina, you're picking them up for 16 and 17 as well, which, maybe you have the roster space to roster 3 or 4 defenses, but that's not usually the case. So if you need to rely on a single defense to get it done, I think the Saints are up there as one of the ones I'm going with. For mine this week, I'm going deep. I don't think it's great, but I'm banking on the fact that the weather makes it seem like the Chicago Bear Cleveland Browns matchup is going to be just absolutely chilly. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of throwing going on. Now we'll see. I mean, Cleveland's been a decent matchup for defenses. I don't think Chicago's been some amazing defense, but they have had some good games earlier in the year. Let's see if they can just kind of return to that. Only 36% rostered. So I think there's a lot better options. And, these are not, I wouldn't even say the Bears are probably a top 12 matchup for me, but they are low percent rostered. And I think you could pick them up and play them if you need someone.
Yeah. And they do lead the NFL in takeaways. They have been pretty good about getting turnovers, and Shedeur has looked better than the other quarterbacks in Cleveland, but he hasn't, he definitely still turned the ball over. He's thrown a couple interceptions. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears kind of bounce back a little bit after Jordan Love's Toyotathon magic worked on him, and I could see him getting a couple turnovers. So
Yeah, I mean, just like this, to have it not even be like Shedeur had a great game against the Titans. Everyone has a great game against the Titans. And I still think he can succeed, but I think this game could get a little like it's not really probably going to be their day. So way faster. Thanks for commenting, man. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't been here before. That's what we ask from everyone if you're watching and commenting as your price to pay us for answering your question. So pick one: Jettas, Jennings, Jacobs / Emmanuel Wilson would be my guess. So,
I mean, I think with the matchup, I would go Jettas. I think.
I mean,
that scenario. I think
I would say,
if Jacobs sits, I could see the case for the floor play being Wilson, because when Jacobs sat, he was the guy. He had over 20 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Denver is a pretty good defense, though, so I wouldn't expect those numbers. But eventually, Justin Jefferson is going to get his. He's just so good. If he's not going to do it this week, I mean, this is the perfect matchup for him. So I would lean there, and then
I think for me, like, I think question one I would ask myself, and this can't be said today. If we get a report that Josh Jacobs is 100% fine, like everything's normal, he's playing like he normally is, which I don't know if we're going to get that report. But if we get that report, I'm playing Josh Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs gets ruled out, I'm playing Emmanuel Wilson. If we don't get either of those things, which I feel like is the situation we're going to be in, I would play Justin Jefferson. So, like, realistically, if you're setting your lineup today and not checking it, I would put Justin Jefferson in. He has the matchup. I think he's going to have that game one of these times. They're probably going to, game plan him a touchdown one of these weeks. And I do think this would be the week to get it. So I'm playing Justin Jefferson in the fantasy playoffs. And we could be completely wrong, but that's where I'm at. Next question, Kincaid or Ferguson? I do know there was some stuff with Jake Ferguson. I just want to double check. Sometimes when I don't have a player on my roster, I'm not as up to date on some of their stuff, but it does say he's on track to play. So let's assume he's playing this week.
Okay. And I know we just talked about Cowboys play the Vikings. Both teams about the same in terms of what they allow to the tight end. I think if Ferguson is healthy and out there, I think I would play Jake Ferguson over Kincaid.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, I do think Kincaid's been good when he gets the touches. He's just such a hard player to depend on because they just share the ball around. So if Ferguson's full go, I'm playing him. If if you don't want to go with that because you're a little scared about his injury, I do think Kincaid is still a top 12 guy. So I don't hate the situation you're in having to pick one of those two players. For this week. So we did our defenses. Moving into our last ones of the week, the ever famous kickers. Evan McPherson. I played him last week. He only got the 4 extra points for me. But going up against Baltimore in home this week. Last week was a snowy game too. So I think I'm going to give him a little they probably didn't kick some on purpose.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's probably going to be pretty cold in Cincinnati as well. But, last time he played against the Ravens, 20 points, 6 for 6 on field goals. A little deep kicker analysis here. Ravens allowing the 3rd most points to kickers on the season. So going with that, going with a pretty good offense. The kicker, it's always just a hope and a prayer.
You can't argue with the kicker facts there. I'm going back to the bank here. Eddie Pinheiro coming off a bye week and a couple weeks out, but he's expected to return. And Pinheiro's been good when he plays mostly. I mean, he had a couple down games here, but in general, he's had a lot of double-digit games as a kicker. And they're going up against a game where they're going to have a very high over-under as a team. So there's really a couple things I guess you should look at with kickers, like past performance and a high over-under. Other than that, it's I think you're kind of just guessing. But Andy, any thoughts on Pinheiro here?
No, I mean, it could be such a crapshoot because the 49ers could score 5 touchdowns and he just has an okay game because he kicks 5 extra points. But if the Titans can get a stop or two, then yeah, I mean, San Fran's going to be able to move the ball against them. So it just kind of depends on whether Tennessee can get a couple of third down stops. So yeah.
So for our last part of the show, we're just going to briefly go over our picks from last week. So if you guys are watching and you have any last minute questions, make sure to get those in while I share my screen quickly to get to this. So we just kind of track all of our stuff from our previous weeks. If you are still watching and you weren't here earlier in the show, keep in mind everything below 50% owned. So we are not sharing like the elite of the elite picks. So honestly, the worst week I've had in a really long time. Somehow bailed myself out with the kicker pick, kicker 12. Still floating above 50%. We're sneaking up there with the kicker percentage. Andy's dominating the DSTs and a pretty good week streamer wise. You hit 3 out of 4 on your streamers, just weren't as good on the the flex plays. Reed was close. He was close. Yeah, I gave you Reed over Wicks because they both played. I didn't really know.
That's who I was, talking about more. So.
Yeah, I think that's the way it was being insinuated.
Yeah.
But in general, still a decent season. I think we can always improve, but I'm not feeling too bad about it in general. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you win your playoff matchup. If you do have any questions, comment on any video. I will get back to you. But that's it for Flex Friday for week 15. We'll be back next week for the semifinals. Andy, thanks for tuning in.
Dude, thanks for having me, and good luck, everybody.